Hello! In this video I want to talk about my experiences with the VRChat Dolly system. It's a VRChat Plus feature and you can make camera paths in-game, which is very nice and useful, but there are some quirks and some tools how to use it more properly, how to have a little bit of a nicer way to handle things. Keep in mind, everything I'm going to talk about in this video is from today. I upload this on the 10th October. Maybe in the future, all the tools are made by individual people who work on it. They might have bugs, they might still get more features, and the same thing is the case for the VRChat Dolly system itself. So maybe some of the tools will become unnecessary if VRChat adds it in a future update. Okay, so I want to show you guys 4 tools to manage the Dolly a bit better. We'll start with the VRC Dolly Manager to manage your Dolly paths, to load them and organize them. The VRChat Dolly Controller, which is helpful for generating a path, like a clean circle, an arc line. I've only used the circle, so I don't know if the rest is working, but circle is really useful. Then the camera Dolly Editor, which is useful for editing single points in hindsight, like you have a path already made and you want to adjust a single point. And then Dolly Adjust, which is a tool that I was working on a lot recently, which allows you to adjust the entire path universally and make it faster, slower, or whatever you want. So let's start with the Dolly Manager. This allows you to save a path. So if we are in VRChat, we are in Dolly, we make a path. Doesn't really matter. Okay, we have this path here. Great. We can go ahead and export this. Let's set it to world because that is generally the better thing. Then we have, this is the Dolly Manager, and it will automatically show up in here. Any path that is in Documents VRChat Camera Paths will be listed in here. You don't need to refresh anything, it's already here. You can edit the name of it, new tutorial path, save, and then it's named like this in here. You can also add tags to it to organize it. You can preview the path, how it looks like approximately, and you can load it in. So if we go back in here and say we delete all the stuff, now we don't have a path in game. We go in here, we load our new tutorial path, and voila, it's here again. You can also press play. This only works in desktop if you are in the Dolly thing. You can press play and then the path will play without the 3-second delay, so that's also useful. And that's basically everything I personally do with this. You can search. I don't know about the other tools. I'm just gonna show you how I use them. It's not like a full extensive tutorial of each tool. Feel free to check them out though, and if you're the creator of these tools, feel free to comment if I messed anything up. But this is very useful for loading and organizing your paths. One thing I also want to mention is the renaming only happens in the Dolly Manager. It has like a database, and the actual camera path in the document folder will not be renamed. It's just in the tool. The next tool, VRChat Dolly Controller by Husky, is really useful for generating a clean circle or other things. It's also my very first own pull request and open source contribution I ever made, so I'm pretty happy about that. And it's very nice for generating a circle. How do you use it? I was pretty confused about that at the start. So before doing anything, you kind of need to set a target where you want all the generated cameras to look at. So you have to go to your Dolly menu, and while this is here, move the target, adjust the target in VRChat, then click OK. You have one point that is currently somewhere at 0, 0 in the world, I believe. I'm not entirely sure where it is. It's somewhere where it shouldn't be. So we want to set a target. The cameras should look at the center of my body. So you just position it. The rotation of the point doesn't matter. You clear the last one, you add one, and then you click on OK in the tool. Then it will export this one point into your documents. It will load that one point and get that position data to know where all the cameras should look. Now we can also move the path because the position of the circle is currently also somewhere, like if we hold on, let's just show you. If I press play now, it's somewhere in nothing because the position is at like 0, 0, 0. So if we go here and say move path, we clear our last point. Let's reset this really quick to where we want to be. And we want to move the path just to showcase maybe. We'll go like above me. So we will have a circle at this height level. Once again, rotation doesn't matter. With a bunch of cameras circling around me looking at the center of my body. So we add 1 point, we have 1 point here, click OK, and it will automatically generate this circle path above me with all the cameras looking at the position where I'm currently standing. So if I go and play this, we have a smooth circle, which is very, very nice. You can also change all the parameters here, which is really nice. You can increase the radius, you can make it a lot faster or very slow. You can change how many number of points you want to have. You can move it up and down. You can change the aperture and the focal distance. You know, you can have a lot of settings. And you can also move the entire path up and down. So this is also pretty useful. Let's say this is too high, we want to move it down. You can just move it down. Very nice. The amount that it gets moved, you can control with translation step or rotation step. And you can also rotate the entire path here. It will rotate the entire circle, not the individual cameras. But yeah, very, very nice tool for generating a clean circle around you. And now it's circling around me like this. Also, one thing that I do want to show, let's, for the sake of this, move the path back to the center. Now we have the path rotating around us. And with this, it's very useful to change the looping to revolve. Let's make it fast for a second, because it will cleanly rotate around you, or it should. It doesn't always. As you can see, there is like a small choppy point, exactly where, wait, okay, I can't do this like this. Where the anchor points are, here. This is anchor, and then the revolve will try to move the camera from this point to this point in this move way. It's currently choppy. And that is not a problem of the path itself. That is a problem of VRChat kinda being weird with its looping type when things change. So let's just showcase this really quick again. At this point, it will be choppy. And if I just change the looping type to something else, none, and back to revolve, it recalculates the loop, and now it will be smooth. Voila, no choppiness anymore. The same thing can happen for the path type, by the way. So sometimes I had the situation that a camera was looking a certain way and would not rotate away until it gets to the next camera. So like this camera, for example, was looking this way, looking that way, all the way until it's getting here and then snaps to the other rotation, which is super weird and awkward, and you do not want that, of course. That also doesn't have to be an issue with the camera path itself, but sometimes can be fixed by simply changing the path type from fitted to loose and back to fitted. It recalculates everything, and then it doesn't do that anymore. So if anything is weird, try messing around with all of these things to kind of switch it to something else back to what you actually want. And often it will fix the things that are weird. The other features of this I haven't really used. They're probably useful. Feel free to mess around with them. But I mostly use this for the circle mode, and it's very nice for that. One thing to note, I think this is constantly monitoring the documents path. So if I were to export something manually here now, I think it's not landing here, it's landing in used location or something. So this might mess with other tools that monitor this folder. So just keep that in mind. maybe sometimes you need to close it so that you have your paths properly here that you want to export. Next, we have the VRC Camera Dolly Editor by missing no 1, 2, 3, which allows you to edit a path, specifically each point. So if we are in VRChat and we have a path, let's create a quick path that's very simple, just 3 points in front of me, voila. And now we open the Dolly Editor. You can either open a path that you already exported. I find that a bit cumbersome. I prefer editing the one that's currently in-game. You can just click on New Path File, Open Path, or no, you can click here, Export Path from VRChat, so it's going to export the path that we currently have in-game here. And then we can open path, there's another one, and this is the path that we currently have going here. And now we can go here, select point 1 and say position should be higher. Let's put it to 51. Then we can import this path into VRChat, and the first point will be somewhere else now. I'm a little bit confused why there's another point 1. Maybe it's only working properly if you have more than 4 points. I'm not sure. This might be an issue from me just not knowing how all of these work properly. It's not my tool. I don't know how it works behind the scenes. Yeah, VRC Dolly sometimes has interesting behavior things. I don't know. Let's also maybe try to change the Dolly, the revolve thing to none, and then I think the revolve was messing with it. Now we have these 5 points, 5, 6 points. Let's go back in here. Let's say we export path from VRChat. Let's open this path that we currently have. Now we have these 6 points that we have in game. Point 1 should be this one. And let's do the same thing again. Let's change the position here maybe to 21. Import path to here. And boom, now it's higher up. Like we set in here. So very useful for modifying specific values of specific points in a path. Yeah, of course you can save the path that you have in here, and you can also preview it and move around and see what the path looks like. And lastly, a tool that I was working on a lot the past few days, VRChat Dolly Adjust, which is a tool to adjust all the numerical values equally in the current in-game VRChat Dolly path. So the use case for this is if you have a Dolly path, let's say we have point 1, and then we kind of want to have point 2 here. We play it, and the intention is that during the Dolly path you move, right? And you realize, oh my god, this is way too fast or way too slow, or the focal distance is wrong, and you don't want to change it for each point. It's pretty useful to just say, well, I didn't open it yet. Dolly Adjust. Here it is. And then you can say duration +1, +1, +1. Now it has duration 5 instead of 2 for each point. So if you play it now, it's going to be a lot slower. And I think this is super useful. I've made so many paths where the duration was just wrong, and I was so upset, and I didn't want to walk up to each point and change the duration. So that's why I made this mainly. To change the duration on the fly without having to export or import anything. It's taking the path that's currently in-game, exports it into a temp file. So this is the file that is being worked with. You can also set all the other numerical values. You can change the focal distance, your aperture, look at me offset, zoom. Also interesting thing is you can actually set all the values to stuff that the VRChat camera normally doesn't allow. So if we go and set this zoom to the minimum in here, let's clear everything and let's make like a path here. And let's say we increase the zoom to 1. The minimum in VRChat camera is 20. But we can also just set it to 1, for example, and then you have very funky behavior. So this is kind of cool. In a path, you can change values to stuff that the VRChat camera technically doesn't allow. You can also change it. The maximum by default is 300, which you will see soon. whoop, this is the maximum, but you can also change it to 600 or whatever. And that's pretty cool. You can adjust the values further, which is useful for the focal distance, because focal distance in the VRChat camera only goes up until 10. Sometimes you want something further to be in the focus, and you can do that with this thing. Can go above 10. So one use case I want to show for the index rotation, what this is doing, it rotates the index of each point. So currently this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and if I click this, it will rotate it. Now this is 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. And the use case I have for this is specifically for the circle, right? You have a circle, and I don't think in the control, and I don't think in here you can set where it's starting. I guess you can rotate it like this as well, but yeah, I was thinking you can also just change the starting point if you have a very slow rotation and you want it to be on the other side. You can just rotate this index, and then it will start somewhere else. Maybe there's some other use cases for the index rotation, I'm not sure. If you make a path and forget that the first few points will be anchors, so let's say I want the path to start in front of me and then go somewhere else, and I have 4 points. What VRChat will do is the first point is now an anchor point. So if we go back in here and press play, it will not start in front of me. And that's sometimes really annoying to fix. So I just made the button duplicate start and end point. And then it will start not exactly in front of you, because it's still like, you know, trying to fit it, and it starts here instead of here. But it's better. It's at least better. Sometimes you make a path, it doesn't need to be too precise, but it's more close to the actual original starting location. And you can also just move the entire path by certain steps. Or what's also nice here is you can change the rotation of each individual camera, not the entire path. So you can make it look down, make it look up, make it look a little bit more left, right. Yeah, that's this tool, what I made. One thing that I want to advise you is to not export locally. I really wanted to use export locally, but it's a little bit weird right now. So if I export this path locally, and technically I want to, I could move anywhere, right, in a different world and want to import it, but let's, in this case, stay at the exact same position. And if I import it now, it should technically be the same path, right? But if I load this, you can see that each point will move closer to me. And this has nothing to do with the Dolly Manager. It happens the same if you manually import it from here and use the VRChat method in here. So that's like a weird thing. I also made a canny about this. I'm the only one who voted for it. I have a YouTube video showcasing all of it. But yeah, the local export is not always like actually exporting or importing the correct way that you previously had it. I guess it's approximately there. If I go here, load it. I don't think this button matters. As I said, it happens the same if you do it without Dolly Manager. And you can import it somewhere else, but it's going to be roughly different. Also, it doesn't matter if you are in VR in a different play space, like if you're at one edge of your room or somewhere else. It also does try to scale with your avatar. So if I go like really big now and import this thing again, it's going to be bigger, but it's not going to be the same. Like your avatar will not be the same in relation. It doesn't matter, like different avatars. I would just recommend not using the local export thing because it's a little bit weird sometimes. Maybe it works for you. One thing that I also want to note is that the values outside of the Dolly menu also affect the Dolly. So if you have set a certain, focal distance and aperture in your Dolly path, you also need to be set to manual focus. Otherwise, there won't be any focus, even if you play the path. So that is important to keep in check. Also, the anchor matters. So now the anchor is set to world. If I play the dolly and I myself move around, the dolly will stay in place and I can run away. But if I set the anchor to local and play and I move around, then it will move around with the avatar. And just like the anchor, the behavior also matters. So if you set this to smoothed or to look at me and then play the dolly, it will also apply those behaviors. So it will now be smoothed and it will also look at me. So if I jump, it will actually look at me and ignore the rotation of the actual cameras. But it will move with me because I have it currently set to local, I think. Yeah, just keep in mind that all of these settings matter for the path. And yeah, that's it. If you learn anything new or helpful, maybe let me know in the comments. If you have helpful tips, tools, other things that is useful information to share, please also let it be known in the comments. Maybe this can be a hub, or, you know, it's still a very new thing and it's kind of niche. Maybe it would be cool. If you know something, leave it in the comments. I think we all can appreciate that. Other than that, have a good rest of your day. Bye bye.